So, you know, Michigan's past disaster with Enbridge really still haunts us, right? 15 years ago, the Kalamazoo spill wasn't just an oil spill, it was a monumental failure.
Yep. It's almost like the company spilled not only oil, but trust, ecosystems, and, communities.
Exactly. I mean, picture this. On July 25, 2010, Enbridge's Line 6B ruptured near Marshall, Michigan, spilling over 1 million gallons of tar sands crude oil. And get this, the spill went on for 17 hours while alarms were just, ignored.
Right. It's like a failure at every level, from monitoring to immediate response. Ordinary locals were the ones who even had to uh, report the smell of chemicals, not the billion-dollar operators watching a screen.
Absolutely, and that's what really stands out. It's like when something goes terribly wrong, you expect the experts to jump in immediately. But here, it wasn't them. It was just the everyday people noticing something fishy, pun intended.
Yeah, and the substance spilled wasn't your run-of-the-mill crude. It was tar sands oil. That means it's super heavy, sinks in water, and is way tougher to clean up.
Right. The cleanup was a nightmare, taking over 5 years and costing more than $1.2 billion, and still, many parts of the damage remain. It's like trying to unspill something that's soaked into every crack.
Indeed. And meanwhile, the EPA's fines? Just a couple tens of millions compared to the revenue Enbridge makes. I mean, $61 million in fines, plus another $177 million settlement. It sounds like pocket change for a company making billions.
Exactly. It really highlights how fines often seem to be. They're almost just a cost of doing business rather than a deterrent.
Yeah, and here's where things get even more concerning. Despite that disaster, Enbridge is now trying to move forward with Line 5, which runs beneath the Straits of Mackinac, beneath Lake Michigan.
Right, it's, this 645-mile pipeline dating back to 1953 and now nearing 70 years old. Yet it's still pumping crude oil and natural gas liquids right under those sacred Great
Uh-huh.
Lakes waters.
I mean, honestly, the stakes are enormous. Imagine if it ruptures under those turbulent currents, where response time would be measured in hours, if not longer. That's not a spill you can just clean up easily.
Yeah, exactly. And add to that the fact that the pipeline is exposed to risks like ship anchors, ice flows, and geological shifts. Just think, in 2018 an anchor strike gouged the pipe, bending its protective supports. It was dumb luck that it didn't
Yep.
rupture then.
Sometimes I wonder if, the push for profit always overshadows safety so blatantly. It seems clear that pipelines, especially ones like these, aren't really about safety. They're about maintaining a profit flow.
That's a solid point. And the irony is, Enbridge not only spilled oil in Kalamazoo, but they're now trying to spin that disaster by promoting a so-called safer tunnel under the straits for a new pipeline segment. It's like, saying, we learned our lesson after a catastrophic mistake, and yet here we
Right.
are.
I actually have to challenge that a bit. Don't you think there's an argument to be made that technological improvements in monitoring could have helped? I mean, if they'd fixed their systems after Kalamazoo, maybe this wouldn't be such a looming threat.
Well, that's a fair point, but when you look at the record, between 1999 and 2010, Enbridge pipelines had over 800 spills totaling more than 7 million gallons. It doesn't really seem like they've learned much. I mean, even if there were improvements, the track record is pretty damning.
Yeah, I see that. It feels like safety measures take a back seat once these companies see a profit, especially when massive fossil fuel dollars can influence regulatory agencies.
Absolutely. Fossil fuel dollars often buy silence or, at the very least, leniency from state and federal agencies. And it's not just about dollars, the lobbying, the studies paid for by these companies, and the political pressure.
True that. And don't forget about the tribal nations, like the Bad River Band in Wisconsin and other groups in Michigan, who have been warning for years about Line 5. They've even taken legal action, because their sacred waters and treaties are being disregarded.
Exactly. Those voices have been largely ignored in favor of maintaining the status quo. And if you think about it, it's all rooted in the same pattern. When profit is prioritized, the environment, tribal rights, and public safety are the
Right.
collateral damage.
It really makes you wonder, how many times do we allow a company to screw up before we put our foot down?
Yeah, and the damage isn't just ecological. Entire communities have suffered, losing access to clean water, safe soil, and their livelihoods. Businesses collapsed, wildlife died, and trust in institutions eroded severely.
Exactly. The fact that Enbridge still has influence, a seat at the table, and is pushing to expand operations is just, or should I say, really infuriating.
Right. It's almost like a repeat of history and fast forward. You've got a pipeline that, if ruptured, could contaminate 20% of the world's fresh water. And that's not merely a statistic, it's a wake-up call.
Indeed. And it raises serious questions about risk versus reward. I mean, those headlines about jobs and energy independence are just overshadowing the imminent risk to our lakes, our tourism, even our food supply.
Yeah, exactly. And the notion that the energy provided by Line 5 is irreplaceable is, frankly, misleading. Independent studies have shown Michigan doesn't really need it. There are alternatives that can do the job with minimal impact on the environment.
So in many ways, it's a false choice. Risk the environment or cling to outdated energy narratives that serve only the interests of big money and fossil fuels.
Right. And it all circles back to trust. Trust that has been so severely damaged since Kalamazoo. If we allow Line 5 to proceed unchecked, we're, well, courting disaster all over again.
Very true. And if I could add, it's ironic how Enbridge assures us about monitoring and safety with their planned tunnel. Yet that's exactly the reassurance we were given before Kalamazoo.
Yeah, it's like they keep saying, we've learned our lesson without significant changes to their operational ethics. And we have to remember, the pipeline industry, at its core, is about profit,
Right on.
not public safety.
At the end of the day, this isn't just about oil and pipelines. It's about our stewardship of the environment, the right of communities to safe, clean water, and the accountability of massive corporations.
Exactly. And think about it. If a rupture happens under the Straits of Mackinac, the environmental impact could be catastrophic. We're talking about irreparable damage to one of the most vital freshwater resources in the world.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. So, what do you think the next step should be? How do we ensure that the lessons from Kalamazoo actually lead to change?
That's the big question. I think it starts with the public demanding real accountability from companies like Enbridge. We need stronger regulations, independent oversight, and a shift in the narrative from jobs to sustainable
Absolutely.
energy and environmental protection.
It's a call for, well, not just protecting a pipeline, but protecting our future. And honestly, if we don't act, there won't be a do-over when the next spill, maybe under our very own Great Lakes, happens.
Yeah, exactly. Because once that oil seeps in and the ecosystem is poisoned, no amount of money or fines can ever truly reverse it.
Totally agree. I mean, and look at the communities and the tribal nations who have already borne the brunt of these failures. Their voices have been repeatedly sidelined.
True that. And it's a stark reminder of how power dynamics work. The profit-driven decisions privilege big companies over the livelihoods of everyday people and the health of our environment.
Right. The stakes are high, and this isn't a partisan issue either. It's about safeguarding an irreplaceable resource, our water.
Absolutely. And we have to consider that our silence and passive acceptance basically enable this cycle of risk and repeated mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. It really does force me to ask, how many more disasters will it take before we stand up and say enough is enough?
Right? Because every new incident erodes a little more of the public trust. And trust, once broken, is almost impossible to fully regain.
True that. And with the planned tunnel, the danger isn't going away. It's just, well, rebranding the threat under a facade of safety.
Exactly. It's like they're offering us a false promise that this time the pipeline will be safe while ignoring the historical record that tells us otherwise.
Yeah. So, the takeaway remains. We need to keep our eyes open, demand better transparency, and push for alternatives that don't risk our natural heritage for a profit.
Right on. And if we, as a society, start putting environmental safety and community well-being before temporary gains, maybe then we can avoid repeating such catastrophic mistakes.
Exactly. Well, that's our conversation for today. Remember, our water isn't disposable, and neither is our future.
Yeah, let's hope people remember Kalamazoo as a hard-earned lesson, not just a statistic. Thanks for the discussion, and keep questioning, keep protecting.
Absolutely. Stay informed and stay engaged.